Welcome to My Favorite Bitch, where we talk openly about the good, the bad, and the oh my fucking god ugly of raising dogs, and sometimes other non-canine pets, including the human ones. We might talk about poop, and we might swear, so fair warning. Thanks for joining the pack. Now let's get this ball rolling. For a game of fetch, of course. Hey everybody, welcome to My Favorite Bitch. This is the podcast where we share honest tales about the good, the bad, and the you let your dog do what ugly of raising dogs and other pets. I'm your host, Beth Campbell. Welcome to the show. Thanks for listening or watching. If you're on video, you may be watching on video. All of my podcasts are on YouTube under The Bean with two N's, THEBEANN. Or you can just search My Favorite Bitch. But we're all of our podcasts are on video. I say are like there's multiple of us. I guess there's My Favorite Actual Bitch, which is my dog Moxie Blue, who is out today on a new trail with her daddy and her uncle Kyle, my husband's brother. So she's just living her good life and having a great time. So I thought I'd record a podcast here. It's been a while. Just busy. I have another podcast. It's called Café. Go check it out if you have a hankering for purpose, a taste for fulfillment, and you're tired of living the rat race. It's a lot about leadership and corporate life and what it's like to be a middle-aged person in the world today. That's a lot to unwrap for a beginning. I'm just looking at myself in the camera on video. If you're watching me on video, my hair is getting like super long. I don't think it's been this long. Probably in 15 years. This might even be the longest it's been in, 20 years. And I love it long, like when I'm doing a podcast, because that's the only time I really wear it down. Otherwise, it's up in a ponytail or a bun because it's so fucking hot right now. Even in the winter, I don't like hair in my neck. So my dream haircut is to get my hair cut like the singer Pink, but I'm just not ready. When I have my hair long, I want it short. When it's short, I want it long. I cannot decide. Some days, I'm not even joking, I just want to take like a number one buzzer and just military it all off. I just do. I just don't care. I don't care. I look good in anything anyway. So anyway, today I'm going to talk about some of my dog rules that maybe are a little controversial. Not like egregiously controversial, but just sort of controversial. When we bring our dogs home and into our lives, we establish rules, boundaries, and limitations, to quote the great Cesar Millan. Ah, Cesar! Hail Caesar! I love Cesar Millan. I know he's not perfect, but I do like him because I just like his style. So when you bring a dog home, you establish those rules, those boundaries, and limitations, and that is just part of your training and part of your raising of your dog, the same as you would with kids. And you may not think of them as rules, but they're rules. You have rules about how you walk your dog. I'm going to do a whole podcast on that because there's like, oh my God, so much about walking your dog. I already done a podcast about the bonding with a dog. I'm going to do a podcast about the technique of walking with your dog. So you have rules, whether you're conscious of it or not, rules about how you let your dog greet a stranger who comes to the door, or do you let your dog on your furniture or not, right? Or how you feed your dog. So you have all these rules that in structure that you set up for your dog, even if you don't think of them as rules, they're there. And some of these rules, some of them that I have, might seem a little odd or even wrong to other people. For example, I do not allow my dog to engage with every strange dog that comes along in the interest of, quote, socialization, because a lot of people will let their dogs engage with other strange dogs if they're out walking, etc. And I don't. She does engage with some dogs that we know, and occasionally strange dogs that seem of the right temperament and their owners ask permission, but I don't just let her wander over and engage with dogs, right? And even sometimes the dogs that we do know, we're focused, we're on a walk, and I don't want her to engage with other dogs. So I follow this guy on Instagram. He runs American Standard Dog Training. His ID is American Standard K9, the letter K and the number 9. His name's Garrett Wing. I just love his videos. He just has some great stuff, and he's just, has a little toughness to him, but he's just very factual, right? He's not caught up in the, oh my God, the prong collar is so cruel. How could you do that to a dog? So, he's just very, let's just look at the facts here. And let me just tell you, and is a trainer. So, he comes from that background. So he has this great video where he's in some public place with his dog, one of his dogs, or maybe multiples. I can't tell because you can't really see the dogs on the video, but there's another person, another man who has a dog who they encounter, and the man just lets his dog come over and start engaging with Garrett's dogs. And Garrett kind of stops him cold and says, please pull your dog back. And he said, you should always ask permission. He's just like, don't do that. Don't just let your dog come over. And the guy got very defensive, and it got a little mildly heated conversation. But I like that. I like that he stuck up for his dog, because I've had the same thing happen when I'm out walking occasionally, where somebody will have, and it's usually the little fucking yippy dogs, because nobody thinks that they're going to do anything, but people have those fucking retractable leashes and their dogs are all over the place and they just come over. And it's like, people, first of all, just know this. If you were in this situation and you're thinking, yes, I feel the same way, Beth, but it's hard to, you're under no obligation, nor is it necessarily going to benefit your dog at all to engage with other dogs like that. Your dog's not going to suffer because you don't engage with a strange dog. And you might be putting your dog in danger depending on the dog. You have to be really careful. Even the dogs that we do engage with, there's a risk there, right? So I'd like to limit that risk. And I certainly don't. I hate it when people just let their dogs come over. I really appreciate when people say, is it okay for us to approach, or do you want to meet, right? And often I'll say, no, oh, thank you. Maybe next time, but we're focused, right? Or sometimes I do. But it is a rule that I have for the protection of my dog, because never say never. I don't know that my dog wouldn't get into a fight with some other dog or take some reaction the wrong way. I'm 99.9% sure she's not, because she's the lab, very typical, very friendly, but I don't know what the other dog's going to do. And I don't know for 100% sure. So I'm not going to take that risk with every single dog that I meet. I'm going to be very selective about that. And a lot of people don't like that, right? Like this guy in the video, a lot of people get very offended with that kind of thing. You know what? Too fucking bad. That's my rule. And so, you need to respect that. So other than that rule, I have some other sort of, controversial is not a good word because they're really not controversial. A lot of people do these, but a lot of people don't. And I have heard people, give me a little judginess because they don't agree with these rules. So one of these sort of iffy rules that we have is we allow our dogs on the furniture, on the couch, on the chair. And I know a lot of people don't. A lot of people have just consciously don't. They have dog beds. There's a place for the dog and there's a place for the humans. And I completely respect that. We don't. And I'll call it a soft rule because there are times when we don't let the dog on the furniture. If we have guests over and a guest is in a chair or on the couch and she's indicating she wants to get up, no, she doesn't. And there's some furniture that we don't let her on. Obviously, we don't let her on the dining room chairs or the kitchen table. But we do let her on the couch and on the bed. She's comes up on the bed usually in the morning. She doesn't really sleep on the bed with my husband and I, but she will come up in the morning to get some snuggles and then take a little nap. But we made a decision when we first got a puppy as a couple back in 2007. We made the conscious decision, talked about it, that we were going to let our dogs, whatever dogs we had, on the furniture. I just love sitting on the couch and having a dog next to me, maybe with her head on my lap or just snuggled up, curled up, it makes me feel good. It relieves my stress. And I love that, a dog will feel safe enough to just cuddle up next to the mommy and the daddy, or the mommy or the daddy. It just makes my heart swell. Now, that also means that we have to cover our furniture, which I do. And it's a pain, but you know what? I make the sacrifice because I like having a dog sleeping next to me. We also have a chair that we call Moxie's chair. It's a big chair, very comfy, and we've pushed it against our front picture window. And I did this because I work from home in another office, and I needed her to be able to view the world while mommy's in taking calls day after day. So she often will get in that chair and lean up against the back and look out. I have a bird feeder and a hummingbird feeder, and she just watches the birds and the squirrels and everything out there in the world, the people walking by. But I know a lot of people do not let their dogs on the furniture, and that's fine. That's your rule. Our rule is different. So when you come to our house, of course we clean when we have guests over, right? We clean normally, but I mean, we, make an extra effort when guests come over to make sure that things are clean and there's not dog hair everywhere, and replace the covers on the cushions. But when you come to my house, my dog does get on the furniture. So if you are one of those people who's averse to, like, I cannot touch a dog hair, or maybe you're allergic, you just have to know that that's what you're going to get when you come to my house, because that's our rule. So another sort of soft rule that we do all the time is, some of these soft rules they're rules that like, we allow our dogs to do things when it's just me and my husband, but when people come over, maybe we just change things up a little bit, just because they don't make fun of us and mock us and judge us. So another soft rule we have is we do feed our dog table scraps. So, for example, my husband, during the week when he has dinner, he usually has some pork or beef for as part of his dinner, maybe a little rice, and he will save a little bit and he will put it in Moxie's bowl, and she gets a little daddy dinner treat. Now, I'm not going to kid you. He does that very, very well and professionally, and probably the right way to do it. We also feed our dogs like straight from the table. And by the table, I mean the couch, because we really don't eat at the table. He does sometimes, but most of the time we're on the couch. So, like, if I'm eating popcorn for a movie, I'll toss popcorn right from the bowl out onto the rug and the carpet and let Moxie have a little treat too. So, yes, if I'm eating something, sometimes she's even up on the couch next to me, and I will give her like a piece of chicken or something. So I know people find it disgusting, and I don't blame you. I get it, but that's just what we do. Now, in my defense, I've never had a dog who's a counter surfer. One time I had a big gathering at my house. This was a previous house, and it was probably 10 years ago. I had my whole family there, all the nieces and nephews, all 6 of my brothers and sisters, which one of them has since passed. So it was a rare occasion where we were all together. My late older brother at the time, had a girlfriend whom he brought. And at one point, so my house was very long and linear, the ranch. One end of the house was a kitchen and kind of a dining area. The opposite end of the house, you had to go down the hall past all the bedrooms, the bathroom, and then there was a living room. So it's just a very weird setup, kind of a skinny but long house. And we were all gathered in the living room. Everybody, we had our plates of food, and everybody was sitting around. It was Christmas time. And all of the food was in the other room on the counter, just piled up on a counter and a table, just tons and tons of food, because I have a lot of brothers and sisters, and they all brought stuff. And at one point, my brother's girlfriend at the time came up to me and she said, "How is it that your dogs are not jumping on the counter and eating all that food?" And I was like, I honestly, for a second, I didn't know how to answer her. And like, my answer is because they're not allowed to. They're just not allowed to. These are previous dogs, not my girl Moxie, but it's the same thing, right? she's never done it. She doesn't surf the counter. She doesn't jump on the counter and I have to correct her all the time. She just doesn't do it. And I believe in my soul that part of the reason that is because we do feed her some non-toxic, obviously. I don't feed her everything, but some non-toxic meat, a little rice or whatever. And so she knows that she's probably going to get something. And she has, plenty of treats and stuff. So it's just, there's a payoff, right? For me, I have 3 dogs worth of experience in my last 15 years of adult life where I actually had, where I actually was in control and raised them, where if I'm generous with my table scraps, they don't jump on the counter. So, that's the payoff. So there you go. So another one of my rules that I will say that I put this in this category because it often gets ignored. And that rule is when we have guests over at the house, I very adamantly give them the rule of no touch, no talk, no eye contact. Again, Hail Caesar Milan. So this comes from Caesar Milan, this concept of just ignore the dog. If you are engaging with the dog, you are feeding whatever energy it has. So if you have a red zone or an angry dog and you're engaging, you're feeding it. If you have a fearful dog, you're feeding. If you have a happy but very energetic, jumpy, wiggly, very hyper sort of dog, like we do, our Labrador Retriever, if you engage, you feed it and the energy will not stop and she will continue to be energetic, wiggly, jumpy, hyper. So I know this is counterintuitive to a lot of people because, especially dog people, because when they come over, they want to engage. So I call this a soft rule because I know that people do want to engage. And there are a few people that have come over and they just ignore my rule. So so now I tell them this. The rule is if you ignore her, she will settle down. And folks, I can't even tell you how well this works when people actually do listen. I have countless instances where people actually did listen, and it's within 30 to 60 seconds, she is basically ignoring you. So you ignore her, she'll ignore you. You give her attention, then she'll seek attention. And I mean, I had a guy over here, this was, I don't know, a few months ago, to do some air conditioning maintenance. And because I work from home and I have Moxie with me all day long, whenever people come to do repairs or maintenance or whatever, and I have to let them in the house, it's always a dilemma of what do I do with her, right? She just loves people, but some people aren't dog people, so I have to be respectful of that too, right? So one of my rules is I don't just automatically let her go out and give and seek attention from whoever happens to roll in unless they give me their permission or they've indicated that they are a dog. I had one guy actually ask me, can you please let your dog out? Because he just so wanted to engage with her. But anyway, so I had a repair person in the house. And so I was trying to figure out, how to navigate her. And I had to go out and talk to him about something. So normally I would just pull her in the office with me and shut the door. I had to go out and talk to him. She was right there. So I said, okay, I'm just going to let her out. And I said to the guy, honestly, if you just pay zero attention to her, she'll settle down. And I'm not even kidding you. It was 30 seconds before she was just like, okay. I'm not even kidding you. It was like, oh my God, a human. Oh, ah. And then he just ignored her. He focused on the thermostat. He talked to kind of an even tone. And it was like 30 seconds. She was just, okay, is there any scraps around here? She just like kind of walked away. And I have countless times where people actually listen and this actually works. But I also recognize that people do like her. There are dog people. Like I said, somebody actually asked me to let her out of the house once, a guy that came to do some landscaping for us. And so that's why I call this a soft rule, because I've had so many people ignore my wishes. And I know that people just like to engage with a friendly, sweet dog, and she is very infectious, so I get it. So I monitor it, and I just make sure that if I am going to let her out, that people know, that if you ignore her, then she will ignore you. If you engage, then you take the consequences of that engagement, which might include a little bit of a hyper dog. So that's kind of one of those soft rules, right? And a soft rule that I don't like to have to do, but sometimes when enough people ignore you and enough people are just really want to be with your friendly dog, what do? You have to just make amends. Now, in the past, I've had a not so friendly dog, and I have had to maybe come down a little bit harder on people, including people in my own family, about engaging and how they engage with that dog, because I had a more protective dog he was a pit bull shepherd, and at home he was the most sweet thing. He was a baby, my sweet angel, but he was very protective. So if somebody came to the door, he would, be the one that was, oh, bro, you're not coming in here. So I had the no touch, no talk, no eye contact. Now, what's really funny about that is it's amazing how well the kids get this. The kids, and I have like 15 nieces and nephews, right? So the kids, since they were little, they get it. Just ignore the dog, pretend like the dog's not even here. That's the game. And they would just turn their head, cross their arms, and pretend like the dogs weren't there. And they would leave them the fuck alone. And the dogs love them. And if I'm being truthful, most of the women, but occasionally, if there's somebody who's going to ignore my rule, it's going to be a dude. I'm sorry, men, straight men, because my gay friends get it too. But sorry, I don't mean to come down, on the oppressed straight white man. But the truth is, you are the ones that usually ignore my rules and my wishes. And so therefore you take the consequences. So, but, when you have a dog that's not quite as friendly as my dog, Sammy, my pit bull shepherd was, it's more important to follow that rule, because as long as you're calm and you just ignore him, but once you engage, and especially if you engaged him in a way that was perceived as threatening, like, you're a big dude, oh, Sammy, what do you do? Just fucking leave him alone and he'll be fine. So anyway, so those are some of my sort of semi-controversial rules, some rules that a lot of people don't agree with or get a little judgy about. And that's okay. You know what? Your dog's your rules, my dog's my rules. So what are some of your rules that maybe some people kind of cock an eyebrow and go, or maybe he even have said, gotten a little judgy directly to your face about, should you be doing that? Let me know about it. Look me up on social media. I'm at YouTube, as I mentioned earlier, as The Bean, TheBeann. On Instagram, Facebook, and now Threads, I'm The Bean 67. So 2 N's again, TheBeann 67. And I'm on LinkedIn as just plain old Beth Ann Campbell, as if one could ever just be a plain old Beth Ann anything. But thank you so much for listening. I appreciate you all. Spread the word. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Connect with me on social media. I'd love to hear from you. But right now, I want you to go play a game of fetch, or maybe find a nice warm spot to take a nap. Whatever the case, take it easy. Thank you for joining My Favorite Bitch, where we don't hold back about what it's like to raise that little fucker of a pet. We hope you had fun. I'm your host, Beth Ann Campbell, and you can reach me on Instagram or Facebook as TheBean67. That's TheBeann 67. And also on Instagram as Moxie Blue Yule. That's my dog's site. She insisted. I'm also on LinkedIn as Beth Ann Campbell. That's Ann with an E. And check out my YouTube channel, Beth Ann Campbell, where you can find this podcast and other fun videos on the playlist My Favorite Bitch. Remember, we are not trained dog professionals in any way, so please consult the real experts and do your research on anything you hear on this program. We barely know what we're doing. Now go give your pet some snuggles, and we'll catch you after a good nap and some tasty treats. My Favorite Bitch is produced by Beth Ann Campbell and is a product of Beth Ann Campbell, LLC. All rights reserved. Go fetch, Moxie. Good girl.